Gilgil constituency member of parliament opened the floor of Twitter, not the House, with a comment on CBC. As a parent with a learner in the system, the assignment for the child involved drawing a chicken. Stick feathers on the drawing, she lamented her tribulations. First, looking for chicken feathers. Found them wet? How do you dry chicken feathers? She asked. Well, that opened a can of worms, if you like. More parents chimed in to Kush, another parent on Twitter, showcased their own assignment. Fruits of the Holy Spirit, he calls it. Edwin Whiter shared his own workings tables with a comment, "It's a problem." Hambajo said he witnessed creation of a sheep. Look at those pictures. Karuai Wanjohi uploaded this very short video saying he was looking for a specific soil called clay at the riverbed. In between these conversations and many others that crop up on social networking sites, it seems parents, teachers, and the government are at odds as to what exactly is this education system and how prepared we are for it. The Ministry of Education says competency-based curriculum is an education system that puts emphasis on learners' unique talents and abilities rather than focusing wholly on academics and exam performances. That has been the longest-running critique of the retiring 844 system, its emphasis on cut-off exams. So, as a response, the government put together a task force that recommended competency-based curriculum as the best alternative to 844 system. Critics of the system say it is debasing education and our children are not learning anything per se. It is sort of like a feel-good system, they say. The rollout of the system hasn't been without questions. Teachers complain of lack of adequate training, facilities, and most importantly, pay. Government says that all this need has been provided for. But with all due respect, access to education isn't the only thing that matters. Quality of education matters too. This is where we start our program tonight. We extended invites to the Minister of Education to come and answer some of these very urgent and pressing questions. But at the time of going on air, they were still consulting amongst themselves. The Minister of Education has an open invite to this program, as and when they competently finish their consultations. My guest tonight, Dr. Wandia Njoya, who joins us live from her home, live from her home. Wandia, karibu sana. We had a chat with you. And Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa, the Executive Director of Usawa Agenda. Gent lady, as we've heard today from the learned men and women. Karibuni sana to the program. Let's start from where we should. Wandia, quick one, very quickly to set the stage. Is CBC a problem?
Definitely.
How so?
I think I would say there are two problems. One is the concept of competency is wrong, and it's not what the ministry says it is. In fact, when I was listening to you introduce, I just said, how can you have a hodgepodge of everything, solving everything? It doesn't make sense. So competency is about work. It's not about less exams, I don't know, less whatever. It's about workers. So that's the first problem. The concept is wrong. The second one is that we have nothing to go on. And that's what I kept saying since 2017 when I asked the first question, can I see the documents which the ministry is using to give us this curriculum? We just don't have enough information. It's not just the teachers. Nobody has the information.
All right. Dr. Manyasa, same question. Is CBC a problem?
Unlike my friend Njoya, I don't think so. Because we have been discussing reforming education system in Kenya for a while. And in 2017, this process began. In fact, it began much earlier. But then the process has been ongoing, and there has been consultations, and there has been needs assessments to say, let us look at 844. Let us look at the system that we have, and let us ask ourselves, is it serving the children of this republic well? And the answer is no. Yeah? Why am I saying no? Because if you look around today, and Wandia says competence is about work, I want to correct that notion. We get education for three purposes, and that has remained since, I think, creation. You get education to survive. That's why the first thing you're taught when you're born, you're told this thing is harmful, this is useful, this is food, this is poison. You get education to survive. You get education to thrive. So you learn a skill that will enable you to earn a living and to thrive in society. and you get education to live peacefully with others and with the environment. So let us reflect back on 844 and ask, has it been delivering on those three functions of education? If it hasn't, should we stay there or should we move? I am not saying CBC is perfect, but I'm saying from where I sit, change has been necessary for a while, and change is inevitable, and we now need to ask ourselves, what are the emerging issues in the implementation of this new curriculum that we can fix? Because remaining transfixed on the position that this can't work, when in the same breath we are still taking millions of Kenyan children through this new system that we are saying can't work, we are not doing the society good service.
All right, so let's go through this systematically, because this has been essentially the crux of the problem with discussing the education problem. 844, what was, according to you, what were the problems with 844 that needed to be fixed?
What I have been saying is that the problems were not with 844. It was the way the economy was structured and the opportunities that were available. So the problems that showed up in 844 were problems from society. And one of them was the lack of opportunity. Once you have no opportunities, people rely on the education system to get a foothold into the economy. And once they rely solely on the education system, then they have to rely on exams and certificates. That has not been solved. In fact, now it's worse. In fact, now our young people are staring at kibarua jobs, which is being poshly called gig economy. It's very difficult for people to innovate. Innovations are crushed by different bureaucratic tools. So those problems are still there and they cannot be solved by a curriculum. We need to open up the economy. We need to make an economy where we don't need papers. That is what will give us a good education system, because then people go to the education system just to learn and not to get a foot into the economy. The second thing is that we have crushed all other avenues of education, culture, arts, libraries, so many other things which should be supplementing the education system. So Kenyans are coming to the school system to get everything from the school system, and the school system is not able to deliver. That's the fundamental problem. So for us to keep on talking about 844 and whatever else, that's missing the point. The point isn't the schools, the point is society, and Kenyans don't want to do the citizen work, and so they want to put their responsibilities on teachers to solve it with the children. We should be embarrassed. All of us.
Andy, hang on. What is the citizens' work? Because
the citizens' work is to demand a better economy. Right now, the politicians are mangering all around and giving us a lot of noise. But we are not asking where are our funds going? What kind of education system do we have? How come we don't have green spaces for people to enjoy being with each other and also improve on sports? There are other questions which we should be asking, but instead we want to say, oh no, sort it out with the children in the classroom. That's cowardice.
Dr. Manyasa, children must go to school at some point.
First, it is important to understand, and I thought I said this clearly, that since times immemorial, people have relied on education to gain a foothold in the economy. That's why even when there were no schools, parents who wanted their son to be a blacksmith took a cow and took to a blacksmith to teach their son the art.
Right.
So people have always relied on education to gain a foothold in the economy.
So it's not the other way around.
It's not the other way around. So that is important to keep in mind. But secondly, what I will want to agree with Wandia on is that not everything that one needs to learn can be taught in school. There are elements of education that must be obtained from society and not from the school system. Because if we load the school system with the responsibility of providing all the knowledge that one needs, the school system cannot manage. There's nowhere in the world where there's a school system that is structured and endowed enough to provide learners with all the knowledge they need. A lot of knowledge must come from the families, a lot of knowledge must come from the society. However, having said that, it is important to point out that, and maybe Wandia is not aware of this, every year for the last 4 or so years, 70% of our Form 4 leavers get a D+ and below. Yeah. 70%. Maybe people remember the A's. 70% score D+ and below. Where do they go after that? That is the question that we haven't answered.
Yeah.
And that is not a problem of the economy to start with. The problem of the economy catches up at a different point. But that is not the problem of the economy when children are scoring those.
This is interesting. I want to go there. But one day I can see you disagreeing with this. As you disagree with this, tell me, what do we do with the 70% that Dr. says, you know, every year, D+ and below? And we know this, since time immemorial. What do we do with this 70% with our economy, if you like, with our education system?
You see, the problem with the conversation you're both having is that you've limited education to the school system. That's where the problem is. So saying about education is survival, thriving, and all that, you're assuming that it's the school that has to teach that. And I'm saying it's not the school. And when you look at, for example, parental involvement, what parental involvement has done is to say, now the government tells parents how to raise their kids. If we had an education system where everybody is doing their work, parents do their work, church or whatever religion does its work, economy does its work, then we wouldn't even need to talk of parental involvement, because everybody would be able to raise their kids in their way, and they go to the school and get a certain type of skills. Now, going back to traditional society, even traditional society had different ways of raising people. When it came to character and adulthood, there was initiation, and you were attached to a certain adult. When it came to a skill, you went to apprenticeship. So what's the problem with the current system is that it wants to do all those things through the school system. It's not possible.
All right. One day when I come back, and I take a short break, when I come back, I want you to give me, to widen the scope, if you like, and tell me what would be the perfect way for us to understand education according to from where you sit, so you can have this discussion from that perspective. Taking a short break. You're watching With All Due Respect. Don't go too far. We'll be right back.
England versus Germany, Tuesday, 29th June at 7 p.m.
Check Euro 2020, all 51 matches live and in HD on StarTimes for only $5.99 on basic bouquet.
Ensure your children and those around you aged 9 months to 59 months do not miss out. Vaccinate to protect. This message has been brought to you courtesy of the Ministry of Health in conjunction with UNICEF.
Like every mom, you want the best for your child.
Happy birthday.
You make sure she knows the joy of sharing happy moments with family. And when everything comes together, you above all others will share the taste of success with her. Blue Band tastes like mama's love.
Check Euro 2020, all 51 matches live and in HD on StarTimes for only $5.99 on basic bouquet.
Croatia versus Spain, Monday, 28th June at 7 p.m. France versus Switzerland, Monday, 28th June at 10 p.m. England versus Germany, Tuesday, 29th June at 7 p.m. Sweden versus Ukraine, Tuesday, 29th June at 10 p.m.
Coming big, in StarTimes. Get connected today for only $9.99 aerial decoder and $2,699 satellite dish.
StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
Son, again.
You guys have to tweet about this.
What phone is this? Hey, looks good. How much is it?
You haven't heard of the Optiven offer?
No?
I must excuse you, invest too. Optiven has this amazing offer. If you make a commitment of 900k in any of their value-added projects, you get rewarded with a cool smartphone, bro.
Call us on 0790 300 300.
So you want me to stick around a man who cheated on me?
Better the devil you know than the angel you don't. Yani, you're hitting on me, no Kona Joey.
What?
Are you seeing anyone?
Oh no, I'm seeing several men.
That's the thing I like about Sandra.
Oh.
She's nothing like you.
I don't think she's a good friend. She's so flirtatious.
Aye, jokes kidogo too.
A 100% waiver of interest and penalties has been granted on all outstanding land rates owed to the county government of Uasin Gishu. The waiver runs from 3rd May to 30th June 2021. Uasin Gishu County, the champions.
When we took a short break, we were discussing where we all sit on understanding exactly what is education and why do we need it. Dr. Wandia, when we left, I made a promise that I'll give you the first go to explain to us, in a perfect world, how would education look in your world? Please, take us through what education would look like in your perfect world.
Well, in a perfect world, there would be no need for education. The reason why we have education is because the world is not perfect. So you need to equip people to deal with the way life is.
Right.
So right now, Kenya has focused all its knowledge gaining in society on the school system. We worship the school system. We're always asking for the government to correct the school system, but other ways of knowing and learning are being crushed. We are crushing people who excel through work. We are not allowing people to excel in sports and other areas of life. And so that's why, because success is so pinned down on the school system, everybody comes to the school system expecting sort of like a solution to all issues. Right now, the school system is messed up, I'm sorry to say. The way to start fixing it is first to open up all those areas. Ezekiel Mutua must stop censoring people. We must have more spaces for people to be artistic. We must have more places for people to be innovative. And then when there are other ways for people to advance in knowledge and for people to be celebrated for social achievement, then we will be able to fix the school system soberly. But right now, because there's no political engagement in all these other spaces, everybody is coming to the school system to solve all their problems, and that cannot happen.
Right. Dr. Manyasa, this one day's perfect world, what's your perfect world? Because parents are watching tonight. They have all these homeworks to do. They have a system to go through and take your child through. There's realities of today. And as when I say we don't live in a perfect world, how does yours look like?
From where I sit, we have many problems, as Wandia puts it, but we need to start to agree that there is a point where we can start to solve them. One of the places where we can start to solve our problems is in the school, where the future generation of Kenyans is. The future generation of Kenyans is in school right now. Mm-hmm. There is nothing wrong with us starting to fix the school system. All our systems may be broken. We need to fix all of them, but we must start somewhere. And so what education stakeholders in Kenya have said is that we want to start to fix the education system by first of all looking at the current system of education, which has had very high wastage. I went to class with 37 other people in class 8. 18 of us went to secondary school, 3 of us went to university. Only one is a PhD.
Keeps on dropping.
So that wastage needs to be addressed. The system that we are in, where you have people training up to university in architecture to come out and sing, be musicians, meaning that we missed picking their talent as musicians along the way. They should not have gone to university to study architecture for 7 years to come out and now start to sing. The guy who repairs my car today is a clinical medical diploma holder. He trained in that, kept the certificate, he's now a mechanic, he likes that. Why did we have to invest resources in training him in what he didn't like and what he wasn't talented in? Because the school system missed picking out his talents along the way. We need to fix that so that the school system can start to offer every young child an opportunity to excel in what they are talented in. That is what CBC is offering. As to whether it is going to deliver, that is going to depend on how much we invest in ensuring proper implementation of it. And so for me, I would wish that at the moment, the focus of all discussion is on how do we make sure that CBC implementation meets the required standard to make that system achieve its aspirations. And its aspirations is to be able to give every child an opportunity to make the best of what they have.
Right.
Yeah.
Wandia, how's that a problem today? Because it's a fact that we have children in school today. How do we start fixing that? Or what's the problem with exactly thinking that we can fix this system, as Dr. Manyasa actually puts it?
I really don't know what to say, because there's so many problems with that kind of education philosophy. Education that does not lead to a specific career is never a problem. What are you saying about that person who trained as an architect and became a musician? That's not a waste. It's not a waste of resources, because that person is still contributing to society. And it's this pipeline kind of thinking that is the problem. We are assuming that people can never change, they can never find other interests, that once they enter the school system, they must come out the exact way they entered the school system. And really, this is not even about careers, it's about class. It's about if you are born to parents who are not educated, when they help you so-called in the parental involvement, and they can't help you with the more advanced concepts, you stay there and become a mechanic. And the same thing, if you're a middle-class kid, your parents can help you and buy all these other things, so you become a doctor. So you stay at that level. I mean, this is about stratification. That philosophy is about stratification. And I'm just so surprised that we are not talking about it. What are educationists doing if we are repeating the same thing that the white people told us? When the colonial system was set up, they set it up the same way. Africans get this education, they stay here. Asians get this education, they stay here. Europeans get this education, they stay there. We are still using that language, surely. This is 60 years later. How is this possible?
With all due respect, Dr. Manyasa, do you want to respond to this?
Sometimes it's hard to reason with Wandia. And my problem is this. If you can't see that in a country where 1,000 students qualify to study architecture in any given cycle, and many of them cried because they didn't get the chance to do that, and the government invests in someone who is not interested in architecture for 7 years, instead of investing in him or her for 4 years to study music, and then they go to do what they didn't train in. If you don't think that that is wastage of public resources, I can't understand how you think. Because you are spending.
No.
I didn't interfere when you spoke, so with due respect.
Yeah.
If you can't see that training, investing in someone to do what they don't like is a problem, then there's a problem with you.
Mm-hmm. Wandia, your response to this?
First of all, probably that person never knew that they were going to become musicians. You see, this is the way we're thinking, like such a pipeline, that we already decide going into the system what we are going to be. When I was in the system, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. And I thought it until I first thought. That's when I changed my mind and decided I like teaching, I'm staying there. People change. We are human beings. Somebody can stay in the education system and do engineering, and then maybe in the last year they discover they have a talent in music, or that's what they wanted to do, and they move to music. Why are we saying that everybody must decide from the beginning, and then they must never change their minds. And you see, the thing is, if we were allowing people to find knowledges elsewhere, which is what I'm saying, if there were more places for culture, no censorship, no rigid control of knowledge, people would be able to be doing things outside the school system, and then they discover, this is not what I wanted. But what happens? Suppose that young man said, or young woman said, actually, Dad, I don't want to do architecture, I want to go into music. Would the father have agreed? So, you know, we are talking, educationists overrate themselves. We are not that important, and the school is not that important. There are so many issues that influence the way people make decisions about education. And for educationists to tell us that they can determine from the beginning where a child will go, they are being too ambitious, and it's not right that you're promising Kenyans things that you cannot deliver. Let human beings be human beings. If somebody enters the system thinking they will be an engineer, and then in the third year engineering, they discover, because of maybe attending a certain workshop, that, oh, I want to change to this, let them change. Let them change, and in fact, their engineering skills might become important. I will always give the example of a musician I met. We had gone for the Nairobi Orchestra, and I asked him he's an engineer in the Nairobi Orchestra, and he said he has combined his engineering with music to become a sound engineer. So if we are just going to keep on saying, train here and never look out, what kind of society are we creating? It's an aristocratic, hierarchical society where you're forcing people to choose things based on what they started with. That's not even right. It's not even human.
All right. So we started this conversation just, you know, to sort of level it up. This concept, I think, where we are bottling up is the concept between education and economy. And we are trying to agree here what fits where, right? And what should we start with, okay? So in this concept where we're in right now, we agree we have a huge percentage of people who, according to, if you follow Andia's argument, the system or the other places of gaining knowledge has not been there. So you have people who are unable to contribute to our society today based on our infrastructure, education infrastructure system. We're here today with the same question. Looking forward to the next 20 years, we still can't possibly get to the same point. And so how do we unblock this question of education and the economy, all right? Which comes first, and how do we make sure that everyone really contributes to this society and everyone becomes whoever they want to be?
We are moving into the direction where the economy is going to be a knowledge economy. So to say that we'll get into that economy without a sound education, that it makes us able, first of all, to be, you know, the aspiration of SDG 4 is to make people acquire the ability to keep learning throughout their lifetime, which is the original notion about education, that you keep learning throughout your life. Because every challenge is going to be new. Scientists who already trained and graduated from wherever they graduated from have had to learn how to deal with COVID, because it was not there when they went through medical school. They've had to learn how to deal with it. So we have to accept that there is no economy built without knowledge. And so without shaping how we acquire, store, process, and deploy knowledge, we cannot build an economy. Yeah. It's not possible. And secondly, starting to say that some magician will come and open up the economy and then people will fit in and enjoy and they can start to choose which education they will now go for. I read a bit of the Bible. It didn't exist even in the Abraham days. It didn't exist.
Wandia, do you accept that we're moving into a knowledge-based economy? How do we prepare ourselves for that?
We are already in the knowledge-based economy. So, in fact, the idea of competency is to do away with knowledge. And in fact, that's what KICD said. They said they don't want knowledge, they just want skills. And this is the thing, the supporters of CBC keep contradicting themselves. So, what is the problem with competency? The problem with competency is that it reduces knowledge to small size bits of knowledge. So in fact, one example that was given, which was why the American teachers refused competency-based education. It's like, for example, Ronaldo. You're coaching Ronaldo. So you get the skill of dribbling the ball, of running fast, of, running fast with the ball, all those skills that footballers have. You teach them in competencies. So you measure, is he competent at this? Is he competent at this? Is he competent at this? But when you put him on the pitch with people playing, it's a different ball game. Can he play? And what CBC is saying is, we don't care as long as we've measured his dribbling skills, his running skills, his all those skills. We don't care whether we have a footballer who can play football. That's what competency is. And the other dishonesty in CBC is that they're not telling Kenyans where did they get this idea of competency from. Because in 2017, I checked the research. That is what I got. And when I presented it to KICD officials and CBC supporters, they never responded to why is there a difference between what they're saying CBC is and what the educationists say CBC is. So we are missing the point. The point is for people to come through the education system to be able to be creative. Competency is not about creativity. It's about competency at separate, distinct, unattached skills. And that's why those skills are being measured with expectations. Does not meet expectations. But when the person comes out, are they able to integrate all those skills together? That's what knowledge is. But Kenyans have been poisoned against knowledge. They have been told knowledge is theory. So now what will happen is that we'll all have the skills, and then people from outside will come with the knowledge and tell us what to do. And that's actually what competency-based education is being imposed for. That's why it's being brought to African countries, so that we don't make decisions, so that we don't decide what we want, so that we are not creative. We just have the skills to implement other people's decisions.
All right, Paul Oluoch on Twitter is asking a very straight question, and he's hoping he can, from this panel, he can get some answers. Says CBC has more exams, assessments, and workload than 844. Kids are getting anxiety right from grade 1 due to the number of assignments they need to complete. Go first.
From where I sit, we need to look at what we are implementing and ask ourselves, what are the emerging issues? There's no one with a crystal ball that will see a system at the design stage and see all the challenges that may come with it. Everything that has, that's why all technologies are improved with time. The original aeroplane is not the aeroplane we fly in today. You design something, you start to implement, problems emerge, you fix them. Yeah? So for me, that is where we are. We have said that the system we have used for many years is not able to continue serving us well going into the future. We have sat down and said, we need to create a system that appreciates that everyone is talented differently. That we are not going to ask someone who is talented in history and English and geography, who could be a lawyer, that first you must pass math as well. My head boy in high school, today he's a policeman. He should have been a lawyer. When we were sitting our Form 4 exams, he's the only one who got an A in what is today Busia County. The only one. But he couldn't make it because he couldn't pass math and physics. He couldn't go to university. We are saying, allow people to excel in what they are talented in. And how that becomes a limitation to knowledge, I don't understand. Because it is simply saying, allow people to deepen their knowledge in the fields of, first of all, their interest, and second, their most talent. That is the system we had before, when people went to A-level and they did 3 subjects that they chose. Yeah, that is the system we had before, in some way.
At what point do we say, Dr. this system, when do we evaluate and say this system is either failing or it's not achieving what we need to achieve? At what point do we make that cutoff?
There are very many indicators. Look at the wastage of the system. of all the children who get in, how many are excelling out of the system? How many are getting wasted in the system? Wastage is a major indicator for that. And if someone doubts, they can do their own research and see the wastage rates in 844.
How do we respond to parents who say this CBC thing has turned us, parents, into students? The assignments can't be done by our children, so parents have to chip in, because that's the reality today. You know, assignments are download, copy, do all these things.
I know that there are so many things. First of all, there hasn't been adequate preparation of parents. That is an implementation issue. It's not a CBC conception issue. It's an implementation issue. There hasn't been proper preparation of parents. Secondly, there hasn't also been an evaluation of the implementation so far to see what challenges have really emerged and how do they get addressed. And that is what I'm saying we need to be doing right now, to look at to what extent is this thing bringing parental role into schooling in a way that is possible for both parents and children, and in a way that will bring collaboration between parents and teachers in the learning of their children. Because for a long time, parents have sat on the fence and sent children to school and expected that the teachers will process the children and they will get through the system. Now there is a demand on the parents. As to whether that demand is excessive, that is the feedback that needs to come to the implementers and see if there is room to alter that.
Right.
As to whether that is just an excuse from people who are used to never get involved, that is also something for evaluation to see whether that is the case.
Well, Wandia, let me go to your voice here, because all the response I'm getting from parents who are watching tonight, they're saying, look, we are doing the assignments for children, not with children, right? Because it's too technical. There's need to be downloading things. We need to get other animals here and there and all these things. And the question I was asking is, does this thing lead somewhere? Do you have a crystal ball from where you sit and say, does this thing lead somewhere? You know, it's 4 years into it. Maybe in 8 years, you know, it will have settled down. From your crystal ball, what would you say?
Okay, this is my crystal ball. Me, I'm not a coward. I do crystal balls. One of the problems with this parental involvement, actually there are two. One is that, of course, it's differentiated. So kids are all going into the education system with their class background being entrenched in the system. So parents who can't afford internet, who can't afford to go to the cyber, who don't even have access to internet, they're already disadvantaged by the system. So this is not a training thing. We haven't prepared parents. The parents they are talking about are middle-class parents who have access to media. What about the pastoralists, the farmers? How are they supposed to be trained? And their work, they do real work which benefits the country, but apparently we don't consider it important enough knowledge for us to take care of the children who come from those families. So one, the problem is the differentiation. The second one is I'm going to warn middle-class parents who are really enjoying this thing. If you keep doing this thing where the school decides how you parent, where you're sending photos of intimate moments with your children to the teacher, you are going to raise your child to not do things intrinsically from their own imagination. They will need to do it for the school or for the teacher. So what happens when they leave school? Is there going to be a headmaster to follow them, to tell them what to do because what they're doing is not being marked? I mean, I think we just have to rethink how we think education. And we have to respect society and the contribution of parents in molding people. But for the government to lecture us and tell us, oh, you people, you're not involved, let's show you how to be involved. That's wrong. And the other thing that the government did with that parental involvement is that they took parents literally. When parents say that they feel they are not involved, that doesn't mean you involve them in the homework. Oh, God.
Right.
There are ways to involve parents. Invite them for concerts, send them newsletters, or, invite them for Parents' Day. That's involving parents.
Dr.
But
Wandia,
you say the only way we can involve parents in education is if they are doing the homework. We are not serious. And educators should not be this literal. The point of being an educator is to be able to see things in their broader context. That's why it's such a complex thing that most Kenyans switch off when they hear education. They're just like, just let me take my kid to school and leave me alone. But we have dropped the ball as educationists. We have refused to think.
You know what? That's a good place to take a short break, because when I come back, I want us to talk exactly about that. What's the contribution of parents to learners and to this education system? We say we all need to rethink it. What's your contribution? What do you think your contribution is? WDR, hashtag, talk to us. Take a short break. When we come back, we answer that question with you.
This is NTV.
Unaonaje hiyo gift? Moja wetu hutufanya tuwe wa Kenya milele.
Kenya milele.
Malaria ni ugonjwa hatari sana unaoua watu wengi hapa Kenya. Japo kuko na corona, hatari ya malaria bado iko. Mtoto huyu alikuwa na joto jingi, kutetemeka, kuumwa na viungo na uchovu. Alikimbizwa hospitali ya umma ambako sheria za COVID-19 huzingatiwa na ni salama kwa shughuli ya upimaji. Vipimo vilionyesha kuwa ana malaria, na papo hapo daktari akampa dawa za malaria na kumshauri azimalize, na ili kujikinga wawe wakilala ndani ya neti iliyotibiwa. Malaria husambazwa na mbu. Walio hatarini ni watoto wa chini ya miaka 5 na akina mama wajawazito. Kupimwa na kutibiwa ni bure katika hospitali zote za umma. Usisahau adui malaria. Zero malaria huanza na mimi. Chukua jukumu leo. Komesha malaria. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na Wizara ya Afya.
It is our #1 priority to protect children against life-threatening diseases like measles, rubella, tetanus and other preventable diseases. Following a measles-rubella risk assessment by the Ministry of Health in collaboration with WHO, 22 counties were found to be at a high risk of measles and rubella disease transmission. The campaign will start on the 26th June to 5th July 2021 in all health centers and selected immunization posts.
Ensure your children and those around you aged 9 months to 59 months do not miss out. Vaccinate to protect. This message has been brought to you courtesy of the Ministry of Health in conjunction with UNICEF.
Share with us what makes you Kenyan for a chance to win a gift hamper from Tusker. Tusker, Kenya Milele.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health and JQuat with support from the European Union.
So you want me to stick around a man who cheated on me?
Better the devil you know than the angel you don't. Yani, you're hitting on me, no kuna Joey.
What? Are you seeing anyone?
Oh no, I'm seeing several men.
That's the thing I like about Sandra.
Oh.
She's nothing like you.
I don't think she's a good friend. She's so flirtatious.
Hey, jokes kidogo tu.
A 100% waiver of interest and penalties has been granted on all outstanding land rates owed to the county government of Uasin Gishu. The waiver runs from 3rd May to 30th June 2021. Uasin Gishu County, the champions.
And I'm unable to keep up with all the messages and comments. And everyone wants to participate on this program tonight because we touched right at the heart of this issue and the question. We want to talk to Kelvin Munene, who's a teacher in Embu, and he's insisted that he has a view on exactly what we're discussing. And I think to have a view of a teacher right now is massively important. Kelvin, good evening and welcome to the program. Please go ahead. All right, I think we're connecting with Kelvin Munene, who's a teacher in Embu, and Kevin has some views from a teacher's perspective on exactly the conversation that we are talking about. Kevin, if you can hear me, please give us your view from a teacher's perspective. Where do we sit right now, currently, in terms of our education system?
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. When it comes to our education system, especially the current system that you're having, the 844, for me, what the government did is that they rushed so much to bring in about the CBC system without considering the issues about the teachers.
What are the teachers' issues, Kevin?
The issue that the teachers were not briefed so much about the CBC. The piloting was not well done.
All right.
The other issue is about parents.
Go ahead. Right.
Then the other issue about the parent, whereby that this CBC was all about the parent of the rich, but they have not considered about the parent of the middle class parent, that they cannot provide for some things that are required in the CBC.
Okay, Kevin, thank you very much for your thoughts. And we want to get to the question of the parents, Daktari. And Paul Oloch also asked Daktari, what happens to children who don't have parents or access to adults every single day to do the quote-unquote parental involvement?
Thanks for that question. That is an important question, that not all our children come from households where they have an adult support structure. That is a challenge that is emerging in the implementation of CBC. And the question we should be asking ourselves, and that is just one of the challenges. There are many challenges that are emerging, which coming here, I hoped that we could actually focus on, so that we ask ourselves, we came up with this system. By and large, it is an upgrade of the system that we are retiring. However, it has these challenges, challenges with parents who may not be able to support the children to the extent that the system is demanding. Children who are in schools that are not as well resourced to the extent that the system is demanding. Teachers who have not been sufficiently prepared for the rollout of this system to the level that they are comfortable themselves to implement. Yeah. The resources that this system is going to require to achieve its aspirations. So for me, that is the discussion that we should be having and asking ourselves, how much resources can government provide? How much resources can other actors provide? How do we end? Because I have had discussions about this system is going to segregate. Currently, children of middle class families are in private schools. Currently, in the system that we are retiring, children of middle class parents are in the private schools. Children of the wealthy are in the international system. They are not in the Kenyan system of education. So when I hear that CBC is now the one that is going to segregate, I feel that maybe we are not cognizant with the current reality. The current reality is that, how do we deal with that as we move to implement this new system that is aspiring to give every Kenyan child an equal opportunity?
Right.
And we start to ask ourselves, what is the position of every child? The position of every child is that some are in households that can't support them in the manner required by this system. Some are in far-flung parts of the country where there are challenges with even mobile phone connectivity and internet connectivity. How do we bring those children who are disadvantaged by obvious facts to the level where they can be able to benefit from this system equally with any other child that is being perceived as advantaged? Because the system we are moving away from is more polarizing than we are willing to admit.
Dr. Wandia, we're going to this question of parent and the involvement of parents, and as Daktari also talks about, the technical issues that, CBC is currently facing. I have a comment from a teacher here I want to include in your response. He says, I'm a teacher, and I think CBC is such a brilliant idea, but the parents, especially for the lower classes, the playgroup, PP1, PP2, they ought to be given teaching guidebooks to help in educating their children.
Okay, the thing is, everyone who says CBC is brilliant does not respond to the issues I raise. So now I don't know what to say about that, because if CBC is so brilliant and it encourages critical thinking, how is it that people are not able to respond to what I'm asking? Competency reduces knowledge to tasks, separate tasks. And if you check the original documents of competency, that's what they want. So I don't know. I think everybody's wishing for their own thing and deciding that that's what competency is. And it's very strange, which is what I said in 2019. It's very strange that we all have different conceptions of what competency is. And in fact, we are like that, the story of the elephant with the 6 blind men. People are touching here, they're touching there. And when I'm saying this is an elephant, I'm told, no, can't you feel that this must be a rope? This must be this. So I don't know how to respond to teachers, especially because we are in the same profession. I did B.Ed, and what I have seen in the research is not what the ministry is saying. So if I can be told how there's a discrepancy, that would be good. Now, the question of parental involvement, I think we are being gaslighted here, because in 2017, 2018, and people can go to my YouTube channel and find the archive of all my responses, I raised all these issues. I said, what happens to the children without parents? What happens to people without connection? I raised those questions in 2017 and 2018. So now what happened is that they implemented anyway and said, we'll make it up as we go along. That is like, imagine if we are leaving Machakos, and I tell you, this car has a problem with the spark plugs, it has no fuel, it has no this.
Right.
And then you say, I'm not going to fix those problems, let's first go on the road and then see what happens. That's what has happened with the education system. So for people to say that now let's talk about those problems, how we'll resolve them, but I mentioned them at the beginning.
So from what you said,
not understanding.
From what you said, as we wind up, and we need to go home in the next minute or so. One final question from Ms. Njoroge on Twitter says, I have a question to Wandia. If given opportunity to make changes to the education system, what would she change in part or whole? Very quickly.
No, now the education system is gone. That's why I'm saying let's first fix these other ways of knowledge creation and creativity. Let's fix the economy. And then when parents are not so desperate for their children to get a good certificate so that they can get a job, when that desperation goes, then people will let us change the system. But right now, it is so cutthroat. Nobody is listening to reason.
Yeah.
Most of all, KICD. Nobody is listening to what I'm saying. And I think I'm fairly reasonable. Nobody's listening because everybody's desperate. So let this thing crash along, I think, until parents decide to become citizens and demand better.
Dr. Manyasa, 1 minute or less.
I can never give up on education. I am a product of education. I can never give up on it. And I don't want to encourage any Kenyan child, wherever they are, to give up on education. For most Kenyan children, they can never afford to give up on education. And for the nation, we can never afford to give up on education. So my one word to them, please keep learning and keep working forward and these things shall be all right. Why shall they be all right? Because we always have solutions to all the problems that we come up against.
All right, Dr. Wandia Njoya, Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa, you've all been great. I have loads of responses. What I'll do, I'll share it with you. and we should have this discussion over and over again. It's not a one-time discussion. Thank you both for coming. Thank you both for your ideas and from where you sit. Appreciate them all.
Thank you.
And thank you all for your comments tonight. You've been watching With All Due Respect. My name is James Pat. We'll do this all over again next week. Same time, same station. I'll be right here. Have a good evening.